Hey guys, this is Stacy from EatTheBite.com, and today I've got some awesome Phyllo Cup appetizers for the holidays. I've got mascarpone raspberry blueberry bites, goat cheese pesto and roasted red pepper, sausage and cheese, shrimp and bacon with lemony breadcrumbs, and chicken cordon bleu bites. Let me show you how to make them. We'll start with the mascarpone raspberry blueberry bites, and they are super easy. I'm using Phyllo shells for all the appetizers today, and each package contains 15 Phyllo cups. So let's get started. I'm going to lay the Phyllo cups on a small sheet pan. We're going to spoon about 1.5 teaspoons of the cheese into each cup. It will look like a mound of cheese, which is okay because this will melt down in the oven. You can smooth the mounds of cheese with your spoon before cooking. Then we're going to cook these in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes. They'll look like this when they're done. We're going to let them cool for a minute or two and then transfer them to a serving tray. While they were cooking, I selected my 15 best raspberries and blueberries. Next, we'll gently place one raspberry and one blueberry into each Phyllo cup. You should press the berries gently into the cheese so they hold in place. Last step, we're going to drizzle a little honey over each cup and on the platter a little too for a nice presentation. And here's our finished product. Next up is goat cheese, pesto, and roasted red pepper. This is one of my favorites and so easy to do since you only need roasted red peppers, pesto, make your own or store-bought, and a small chunk of this goat cheese. One smaller jar usually holds one whole roasted red pepper in it, and we only need about 1/4 of this pepper for our recipe. So I'll cut that off and start slicing it into thin strips. We'll cut the strips into smaller pieces that will fit inside the Phyllo cups. We'll cut 15 small pieces for our 15 Phyllo cups, plus a few extra pieces to garnish your serving platter if you'd like. Now it's time to assemble our cups. Spoon in about 1 teaspoon of goat cheese per cup. Goat cheese doesn't melt down when cooked for a shorter time like this, so we're going to do 1 teaspoon each, which is a good amount per cup. Once we're finished with the goat cheese, we're spooning on just a tiny little dollop of pesto on top of that. And the last step is to place 1 small pepper slice on top of each cup. We'll bake these in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. They'll look like this when they're done. Then we'll transfer them to a platter and serve immediately. Next up is another super easy and flavorful combination of sausage and cheese. First, you'll need to finely dice a little onion, then we're going to set that aside. Then we're going to slice a little bit of garlic and we'll also set that aside as well. We'll shred a little bit of orange cheddar cheese, and you can use the bag stuff for this too. Then we'll need 3 mild Italian sausage. We're just going to cut the casing open like you see here, pull out the meat, and stick everything in a pan. We do need to break up that meat a little, and after that I'll add a splash of olive oil to the pan, and I'm going to cook this for about 5 minutes while breaking up the sausage until it's got a crumbly texture. Next we'll add the onions and give it a mix. Then I'll add the garlic, give that a mix. And now I'm going to transfer the sausage into a bowl. We'll add the cheddar cheese. Then we're going to add a little bit of cream cheese here as well. Now we'll mix everything together until it's well combined. It's a really simple assembly here. We're going to spoon in as much sausage and cheese into each Phyllo cup as we can. Then we'll bake those in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes until they look like this. While they were cooking, I did chop some fresh chives as a garnish, which is totally optional. Then I transferred my sausage and cheese bites to a platter and garnished with my fresh chives. Now they're ready to serve. Next up is shrimp and bacon with lemony breadcrumbs. I've got melted butter and olive oil in a pan, and I'll add my plain panko breadcrumbs to the pan. You want to mix the breadcrumbs around until they're fully coated with the butter and the olive oil. Then I'm going to put them back on the stove top until they turn golden brown. While those are cooking, I'll finely dice my onion and garlic. We're going to need to dice that down nice and fine, and we'll set it aside. But before I do the garlic, I am going to check on my breadcrumbs and give them a little stir. Now back to the garlic. We'll finely dice that and then set it aside. Then I'll check on the breadcrumbs one final time and they're done. Now we need to let them cool. I'm zesting half of 1 lemon to add to my breadcrumbs. Then I'm also going to chop a little bit of fresh parsley to add to the breadcrumb mixture and for garnish later. You will need 4 strips of cooked bacon for this, so plan your time. I cooked mine a few hours prior to this, so I'm ready to go. We're chopping this into little tiny bacon bits. This will take a few times of running your knife over the bacon to get them chopped down into a bacon bit size, just like this. I'm cooking the phyllo cups ahead of time for this one too, so I've got those toasting in the oven while I finish my prep and cook the shrimp. And I'm using medium-sized deveined shrimp for this. You'll want to gently pinch the tail and pull it off. And be careful here because you don't want to lose that little bit of tail meat. Then just peel the shell off. So pinch and pull the tail, then remove the rest of the shell. You'll do this for all of the shrimp. Then we're going to make sure those shrimp are spread out over the bottom of the bowl and season with a little bit of salt and pepper on one side only. Last step before cooking the shrimp, I'm adding the lemon zest into the breadcrumbs, along with a little bit of parsley, and then I'll mix everything together. I heated a little oil in a pan and let it get hot before adding my shrimp. Then I spread them out in the pan so they're laying flat and let them cook for 2 minutes without touching them. After 2 minutes, you want to turn all the shrimp to the other side, and then we'll make some room in the middle of the pan to add the onions, and then just a splash more oil here. Mix the onions for a minute. Then we're going to add that garlic, cook it with the onions in the center of the pan for about 30 seconds. Then we'll mix everything together until it's well combined. Right at the end, I squeezed 1 small lemon into the shrimp, gave it 1 final stir, and we're ready to assemble. I've got my cooked phyllo cups, and I'll start by placing 1 shrimp into each cup. Next, I'll add a spoonful of bacon, everyone's life dream, spoonfuls of bacon. And lastly, a little spoonful of the lemony breadcrumbs for each cup. And now we have our delicious finished product. My 5th phyllo cup appetizer is chicken cordon bleu bites, and this might be my favorite one of the 5. We're going to finely dice a little bit of onion and garlic for our bechamel sauce first. So I'll start by dicing the onions fine like this, and then I'll do the same for the garlic. I'm shredding a little fresh Parmesan cheese that I'll add to the bechamel, and also a long slice of Swiss cheese ripped up into pieces. I'm using razor-thin boneless chicken breast for this, and I'll season it with a tiny bit of salt and pepper on both sides. I've got your standard breading station of flour, egg, and plain breadcrumbs for this. I'll dip the chicken in the egg, the flour, then back in the egg, and then into the breadcrumbs. We'll do that for both pieces of chicken. And I'm also using an awesome bag of mini ham cubes for this, and we'll cook those to get a little sear on it. There will be multitasking for this one. I've got my ham cubes heating in the back burner, my bechamel started on the front left burner with the butter, onion, and garlic, and my cutlets frying in canola oil. I'll cook the chicken a few minutes until golden brown, then turn them over. Next, I'll add some flour to the bechamel. Then I'm going to whisk the flour, butter, onion, and garlic together. And you're going to cook this for a couple of minutes while we get that raw flour taste out of it. My chicken cutlets are done, so I'm going to set those aside to focus on finishing the sauce. I added some warm milk into the sauce pot, and then we're going to give that a stir while it thickens. Next, we'll put the cheese into the pot, and we'll give that a stir while it's melting. You can add a little more milk as needed to thin out the sauce a bit. Then we're going to season it with a light sprinkling of salt, give it 1 final stir, and the sauce is done. This is another one where I've heated the phyllo cups in the oven alone, so those are standing by, and we'll need to chop the fried chicken cutlets into little chicken cubes that will fit into our phyllo cups. First step, I'm adding 3 or 4 fried chicken cubes into the phyllo cups. Then I'm going to spoon on a little of that awesome cheesy bechamel sauce. And lastly, a pinch of cute little ham cubes for the top. Next, I transferred my chicken cordon bleu bites to a platter. I garnished with a little fresh parsley, that's optional. And my appetizers are ready to serve. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, you'll find this and all the printable recipes over on my website at eatthebite.com. Thanks for watching, and happy holidays!